Hi, everybody. I'm Stacy.
And I'm her daughter, Mickey.
And welcome to KiddieNomics. Oh, my goodness. Okay, the day has finally come. I'm beyond over the moon excited for this special edition of KiddieNomics because today we have the one and only Mr. Bay Street himself, Mr. Wes Hall on KiddieNomics. Honestly, this has been one of my dream guest experts that I've wanted to have on KiddieNomics for you guys for 2 years. So I'm so excited for today. But before we get started with Mr. Hall, of course, I am going to just do some of our housekeeping items because we have a whole bunch of new people on our webinar today when they saw that Mr. Hall was going to be on KiddieNomics. So we are going to get started. Hi, Nicole. 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, so welcome to KiddieNomics, everybody. I'd like to welcome all of the new people that have joined KiddieNomics this week. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new, please put in the chat box that this is your first time, and all of the other kids will welcome you online. And of course, welcome back to all of our returning kids that are here week after week with us every Friday. We are super excited for you guys to be here this week, okay? So before we get started, let's talk about what is KiddieNomics about. For those of you that are new, you're probably like, why are you here? And what does this platform do for me? So KiddieNomics helps kids ages 8+ to develop a healthy relationship towards financial literacy, helping to start kids off on the right path to have a successful financial future. That's what we want for all of you out there. That's what I want for my daughter. That's what she wants for me. Mr. Wes already has it, but I'm sure that's what he wants for everybody else out there. So that's what this platform does and will continue to do. So we do have a lot of people online today, and the age range is going to vary this week. So we do have kids younger than 8, and we do have kids older than 13 that may be joining us today. So we do ask that everybody please be respectful in the chat box. We understand and we know that, sometimes, kids that are younger, they may ask the question several times and they may not understand something. So we just ask that everybody please be kind and respectful in the chat box, and absolutely no spamming.
Oh, yeah, no spamming.
No spamming in the chat box, please, especially for this webinar, because we're going to have a whole slew of questions being thrown out there, and I have to be able to monitor it, okay? And of course, please keep in mind that every single one of our KiddieNomics webinars is recorded, right? So this one is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our KiddieNomics YouTube channel, and it should be there before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. So if you missed something or if you joined us late, don't worry. This webinar will always be available like all of our other webinars. So if this is your first time, we have a whole slew of videos there, almost 100 videos of KiddieNomics there that you can go back and catch up on, okay? And also in the chat box, please, we like to keep it a safe and healthy environment. So please, we never want to see anything personal, okay? So no email addresses, phone numbers, ages, personal addresses. We don't want to see anything personal in the chat box, okay? The chat box is there to help answer and ask any questions. All right, did I miss anything?
Roll call.
Roll call! All right, so we like to play this fun game on KiddieNomics where we get all the kids to let us know what country are you joining from today, because we typically have kids that join us from all over the world. Hey, Brielle. Brielle says Canada. Who else is there? Corlina says Canada. Janaya says, I'm new. Hi, Janaya. Welcome to KiddieNomics. Canada, says Janaya. Nicole, Canada. Heather, Canada. Anaya, Canada. Woohoo! Canada is repping in the house today. Awesome. Who says it's my first time? Sheila. Hi, Sheila. Welcome. Who else said? Oh, Isaiah, USA. Oh, Micah, UK. Hi, Micah. Let's see. Reese says Canada. Who else said they were new? Somebody else said that's my
Awesome.
first time. Did I say greetings, everyone? I'm new. Oh, Kadu. Hi, Kadu. Nice to meet you. Welcome to KiddieNomics. All right. Amina, England. Hi, Amina. Welcome to KiddieNomics. That's awesome. And Kadu says Canada. I hope I'm saying your name right. I apologize if I'm not. Please, I really do. Catherine, oh, Miss Armstrong, Canada, it's my first time. Hi, Madame Armstrong. So we do have parents and teachers on today, which is amazing because they are all looking to learn a lot from Mr. Hall today. Johnny says Canada. Canada's repping today. Dina, Canada. All right. Thank you very much for playing our game. It just helps us to see where everybody is from and what countries they're joining us from today. Last week we had Italy and we had UK. This week is UK and a lot of Canada and the USA. So we're super excited about that. It just shows us that, you know what, we think locally and we expand globally, which is amazing. All right. Let's get started because I'm so excited.
You forgot about me.
Oh, I did. I forgot about Mickey. Who is not new to KiddieNomics? And you know, every week I forget to ask Mickey where she's from. All right, go ahead, Mix. Where are you from?
I'm from Canada.
You're from Canada. All right, let's get started, everybody, because this is such a special edition of KiddieNomics. This week we have Mr. Wes Hall on KiddieNomics. He is the executive chair and founder of Kingsdale Advisors and the newest dragon on Dragon's Den. I love this show and I am so excited. Okay, so as the executive chairman and founder of Kingsdale Advisors, Wes Hall is one of North America's most influential power brokers and Canada's premier leader in shareholder advisory services, playing pivotal roles on multi-million and billion-dollar transactions for Air Canada, Xstrata, Citigroup, Tim Hortons, PetroCanada, and many others. Mr. Hall is one of the owners of QM Environmental, a leading national environmental and industrial services provider with over 450 employees. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. Among other businesses, an instructor at the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto. He teaches Black Entrepreneurship Leadership, a first of its kind course in North America. He is the founder of the Anti-Black Racism Initiative, BlackNorth, and in October 2021, became one of the investors on the hit series Dragon's Den. All right, everybody, let's give a big KiddieNomics round of applause for Mr. Wes Hall. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we can see Mr. Hall. Hi, Mr. Wes.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Oh, we are so excited to have you on. I'm just going to open up the chat box. All right. So we are like, this is, thank you, Mr. Hall. First, let me just say thank you, Mr. West, for joining us today. We are so excited to have you on KiddieNomics. I'd like to start out though with this phenomenal book. This book is like, I'm not gaslighting you because you're on KiddieNomics, because I could, but I won't. This book is absolutely phenomenal. And I just wanted to see if there's, you know, what could you share with us for some of the viewers that haven't read your story and don't understand some of your background of where you started? What can you share with us today that's in your book?
Yeah, well, you know, Stacey, so first of all, here's where it all started. This is where I grew up in Jamaica, in this tin shack in rural Jamaica. My grandmother raised me in this plantation shack, very, very poor. I have 14 brothers and sisters, and my grandmother worked at a plantation. She worked at a sugarcane, banana, and coconut plantation when I was a kid. But when I was a baby, I would have been 12 months old. My mother abandoned me and my sister. My sister was 4, Joan, and my brother Ian was 6 months old in one of those shacks because she also worked on the plantation too, my mom, and she never came back. And my grandmother was working on a plantation at the time, and a neighbor heard us crying and came to check on us, and then found out that we were left alone. And he went to get my grandmother. My grandmother came to get us, and that's when we started living with my grandmother. And this is shortly after that. This picture here is she took me and she brought me to this place, and this is one of those Sunday outfit that she had put us in on. And I keep it here in my office, by the way. All these things are things that when people come into my office here, they see it and they want to know what it is. And I tell them the story of how I got started because of this woman, Julia Vassal, that did such amazing, thing for me that she just go, hey, you can be poor, but you can look good. So in that picture you see on the cover of the book, Stacy, that you just showed, that is my son, the best.
You look good. You look good.
But it's not just a matter of having the sun the best on; it's to be able to pull it off as well. You notice that standing there like that, and there's this how it is going now, right? Yeah. But the sun the best when you think about the look of it all, and this, right? When you're poor, doesn't really mean that you can't come across looking really fly.
That's right.
It doesn't mean that you can't look good. And so that's one of the things that my grandmother taught me. She taught me to know I couldn't change my circumstances in life, but I grew up on a plantation. I worked there as a kid with my grandmother. But my grandmother, and I didn't wear shoes to go to school. I didn't wear shoes to go into the plantation. But when it's time to go to church and to worship God, a higher being, my grandmother goes, we're going to go dig deep in the barrel. And the barrel is where we would keep all the clothes. In North America, in the UK, and the US, you go in your closet. Yes. Okay. Those are for rich people. Closets are for rich people, kids. Okay. We didn't have a closet. We had this barrel that my grandmother would put all the clothes in. And then on Sundays, she would dig in the barrel, take out this beautiful outfit, this nice outfit. And then she would put it on and said, okay, it's church time now. That's my outfit. And she would iron it up and make me look all good. And that's the pride that came with that. And when you see a kid looking like that, you didn't know if I was poor or was rich. You didn't know that. And so that pride that she taught me, I carried it throughout my entire life to this day. And that's the reason why I keep all those pictures around of my grandmother, because it always keep in front of my mind that pride that she gave me from the moment she took me from that shack where my mother left me.
Your story is absolutely phenomenal when you see where you came from and what I love about your book is how you take the reader really truly on the journey with you, a step by step of where you've been and why you made the decisions that you made. And each conscious decision that you made helped to get you to the next level of your success. And where it is that you always knew, you didn't know necessarily that you're going to be the power broker, Mr. Bay Street himself, right? But you did know that you could do whatever it was. And what I do like about your book is the ignorance that you had, ignorance meaning that you didn't know that there are certain things that were supposed to hold you back.
Yep.
Yeah, and you never realized that. So you operated like, I didn't know that this was a barrier. I didn't know that this was a challenge. Can you talk about that to some of the kids? Some kids are facing such barriers and challenges that they think, how can I be successful when I live in certain areas or when I come from a certain area? How and I look a certain way and I feel a certain way.
I always say that there's always going to be people who look at us and look at our color as an obstacle for us. And they look at a Black kid like I was, and they look at a Black adult like I am, and they still go, it's an obstacle, even though I've accomplished so much. Because in certain folks' minds, it doesn't really matter how much you've accomplished. You've done that because somebody may have helped you along the way, and you really didn't do it because of your hard work and your creativity and your smarts. It's just that somebody must have helped you because you're underprivileged. But if we go through life thinking that because I'm from a certain neighborhood or because I was raised a certain way from a certain country, that I would never be as good as, I'll never be getting things that I'm entitled to, you'll never get those things. You'll never get those things. You have to look at yourself. I look at my Blackness, and I always say this, and I said it in my book, as my superpower. Because
we talk a lot about superpowers here on KiddieNomics.
Absolutely, that's my superpower. Why is it my superpower? If you're in sports, and all the kids here should have played sports, whether it be soccer or football or what have you, and somebody look at you just because of how you look, and they've never seen you play soccer or football or basketball, and just because of the way you look, maybe when they look at a typical basketball player, well, you're not 6 feet. You know, you're like a Spud Webb. You're 5 feet. And the average basketball player is like 6 feet 5 plus. And they go, that guy can't be good at basketball. And next thing you know, Spud Webb was dunking on them. Because they go, wait a minute, he's short. He shouldn't be able to play basketball. Well, that was his superpower, because he knew initially that person's going to underestimate him until there's a tip off. And then the ball got dunked on them. And they go, how did that happen? So my superpower is being Black, because I walk into a room and people automatically assume that I'm not as capable. So they let their guard down. They don't bring their best. They just walk in there with their privilege. And as a result of that, I'm able to take advantage of that. So I would say to you, young folks who are living in underserved communities, I would say use that to your advantage. Don't let somebody say to you that, well, because you're from this neighborhood or that neighborhood that's poor, you can't be good, you can't be capable, you can't be smart. Because you know what? Use that as your strength and muster up that energy to say, okay, I'm gonna prove it to you. But you don't have to spend your time proving anybody wrong, okay? You spend your time proving yourself right and prove it to yourself. And if everybody, there's going to be times when no matter if you prove it to someone, they'll never say, okay, now I'm a converter. Now I believe in Wes. Now I believe in Mickey. Now I believe in Stacy. They may never say that. They may never give you that benefit, but it doesn't matter, because you're proving it to yourself. Yeah. And you're giving yourself that satisfaction. So always believe in yourself and what you can do, and never let somebody else determine how far you can go or how capable you can be to do something. Never.
We love that. Yeah, that was it was funny when I was reading the book, and sometimes it would jump out at somebody else to say, you know, they didn't do that because of your skin color, and you never really saw that. And you're like, no, it's just because I'm a man and this was the position that all women held. Or I love when you were going to one of the companies and you're going for an interview and you were sitting there in a suit and another person was sitting there in a t-shirt and jeans, and the person was like, hi, Wes, you know, can you please come in? And you're like, no, I'm Wes. And they automatically didn't think that you were the person coming to interview, even though you were dressed up in the suit. And you it never clicked to you that it was because of your color and those barriers that you may have, you wouldn't know that you were facing that. And I love that.
At the time, what I thought was it was a broadcasting company. I went there to be the right hand to the general counsel, which is the top lawyer in the company. So of course, naturally, I'm going to wear a suit and tie. But when they went to this fellow that was wearing jeans and t-shirt, who was white, and me wearing suit with suit with a briefcase, I just felt that, oh, it's a casual environment because it's entertainment. So that's what they expected me to dress like. So, oh, shit, you know, too bad. I didn't know I overdressed for this interview, right? But I didn't really think until later on that, oh, they weren't expecting a Black person. If I'd thought that way at the time, I would have gone into that interview with that negative attitude.
Yes, with
I can't believe I was just profiled. I can't believe they did this. And so I wouldn't do my best in an interview. But guess what? I walked in an interview. I hit the ball of the park so far they couldn't find the ball. I got the job. And that's what attitude can do, right? Sometimes you can see something as plain as day, that this is racism. This is because I'm Black. This is because I'm a woman. This is because I'm a kid. And you know it as plain as day that that happened to you because of that. And you have to shake it off. Like you just do. You just got to shake it off, because if you give that person the benefit of knowing that they just ruffled your feathers, they just did that, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be so satisfied because of your negative reaction. Never give someone who's discriminated against you because of your race, your age, your sexual orientation, your gender, that because of something defamatory or because something insensitive that they've said, that it affected you, because that's what they want to see. Never give them that satisfaction. Just move on as if you never heard it, as if it never happened.
And that was another thing that I also saw in your book. We will move on to some other sections, and we're going to get into, financial literacy and money talk with Mr. Wes. But the other thing that I did want to ask you in your book was just how you handled certain situations where it was racism, but you didn't see it as racism, but you never, in the book, you never seemed to get upset. You never, like, sometimes, somebody may say something to you and you're like, and it just, it just spoils your whole mood. And then you approach it differently. And in the book, the way that you approached every situation, especially, when you were on that business call and the lawyer made such, was really trying to get under your skin, and you just, you didn't acknowledge it. And so I wanted to ask you, in business, when you're faced with that challenge, how do you handle those? How do you continue to handle those situations?
Okay, today, just this day.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a very successful guy. I have the Canadian Chamber of Commerce Business Leader of the Year. I got that today. I got 4 honorary doctorate. Not too many people have that. I have multiple companies that I've owned. Collectively, those companies hire over 1,000 people. Okay, and we're doing a deal. And the banker said to my colleague, if we give Wes this money, is he going to blow it? Okay, now they don't ask anyone else that. That's not even going to accomplish a fraction of what I've accomplished. I'm one of the most successful business leaders in this country, not Black business leaders or business leaders, period, in this country. And somebody at a bank has the audacity to ask a colleague of mine privately, is he going to blow the money if we loan him this much money? Right? And what in my history suggests that I've done that? Nothing. Mm-hmm. But it's because of my skin tone.
Yes.
And so so when the person was saying to me, I started laughing and I said, that's just one of those other things I deal with all throughout my entire career. And so I was talking to my wife about it today, and she's like, I just don't understand how it doesn't affect you when these things happen.
So tell us, how doesn't it?
How it doesn't affect you, you have to because at the end of the day, you're in an unfair system. And the system will never be fair until people like myself work very hard and take a lot of blows to fix it. So that when Mickey grows up and all those other kids on the call today grows up, they don't have to take the hits I'm taking today. So, but if I take those hits and I'm angry about it and I retaliate in a negative way, it's gonna poison the well for those kids coming up after me, because they're gonna assume that everybody who deals with something is angry, they're Black and they're angry, and that's how they deal with situations. So I have to deal with it with grace to pave the way for others coming up behind me in how we deal with it. So it's a part of what I've made up, but think about it. My grandmother grew up was working on a plantation, a sugarcane plantation, bending over, chopping sugarcane for 12, 15 hours a day. What she's doing, or she did, way harder than me ignoring somebody for saying something insensitive. Yeah. Way harder. Okay, think about the poise when she finished working that week and she went to get her paycheck or her cash, because back then they give you cash, and she counted out and she was shortchanged. And she can't be angry at those people who shortchanged her or stole money from her. She just got to look at it and knew what just happened and just eat it. And just like, okay, I got to leave, because if she started getting angry, she's going to get fired. And she has these great grandkids to look after at home. So she has to take it and move on as if it never happened. So those are the hits that I'm taking, but it's a different type of hits that I'm taking now. But she was taking the hits on behalf of her grandkids because she knew that she had to feed these kids and she can't behave a certain way because it would affect them. And so it's the same thing with me. I can't behave a certain way when those things happen because I am paving the path for other people coming up behind me. And I don't want them to take the hits that I'm taking right now.
Well said, because that is so important for our young generation to know and understand, that people like you that are paving the way and have taken these body blows time after time for the younger generation to not have to take these body blows and it will just become a regular thing. A person like you, as these kids get older and they become not the next Mr. West, but whoever they are, and that question of what the banker said wouldn't even come into their mind to ask a question like that.
That's right. My goal is that when the young kids that are on this, the 8-year-old, the 12-year-olds, when you get to Bay Street or not-for-profits or whatever you choose to do for a living, academia, you name it, that nobody feels in their mind that you're not capable.
That's right.
Because of what you look like.
That's right.
Somebody's going to be able to look at other very accomplished people and go, well, look at what that person did. Look at what Wes did. And it doesn't really matter. When you're in, no matter what your profession is, I'm on Bay Street and I walk into boardrooms with all these different smart people who grew up in Rosedale and Forest Hill, that went to Upper Canada College and Queens and Harvard. But I'm on the same wavelength as them. And in some cases, better. Why am I better? Because they didn't have the struggles that I had to get to where I'm at today. So they can't be better than me. Mm-hmm. They can't be. The way was paid for them. Their tuition was paid. Their parents were very successful. Whenever they finished school, they got calls, by their parents to different companies to say, hire my son, my daughter, right? And I had to bust my butt. And guess what? Now I'm in the same boardroom with you. Who got there the hardest? Who worked the hardest to get into that room? One got there based on privilege, and the other one got there by sheer hard work and smarts. Yep. So to me, I'm always going to bet on the person who was underprivileged and they got to a certain point. And that's the reason why my company at Kingsdale is #1 in Canada, because of my lived experience, my background. It made me a fighter. It made me tough. So when these clients are looking for someone to defend them on a hostile takeover, they go, who's the toughest person to work with me on this one here? And I'm the only guy that I've gone through what I've gone through. And they call me, and guess what? They win. And they keep calling me. And as a result of that, I'm the king of Bay Street.
We love it. You are. It's amazing. Please, everybody, if you guys have questions for Mr. West, please put it in the chat. It's not just me here to ask the questions. Nikki, you have a question for Mr. West?
Yeah. What's your net worth? Like,
no, we can't. No.
Nikki's asking me, how rich are you?
I always want to know about the money. How much money can I make?
How rich are you, Wes? When you're an entrepreneur, Nikki, you can be as rich as you want.
Absolutely.
Or you can be as poor as you want. You're limitless in terms of your capabilities. The reason why I started my own company is because I was working for all these different companies and I was doing really, really well. But my bosses have always said to me, you're doing, this is how much the maximum we're going to pay you, no matter how well I did, maximum. I decided to start my own business and there's no cap anymore. But if I fail, so I fail. But I can go as far as I can go to, I can make as much money as my capabilities and my abilities will allow me to make. And my hard work will allow me to make. But nobody's going to tell me, Wes, this year you made $5 million and that's good enough for you. That's enough. I could make 10, 50, 100, 200, 300, you name it. It's all based on what's here and the hard work that I put in to make my network, whatever my network is. Okay. But once you get to a certain point, it's not about money anymore. I don't do this because of money, Mickey. Absolutely not. I do it because I came from a tin shack and I should not be where I'm at today. because based on society's rules, I should always be in this tin shack. I should live there. I should die there. I should never be on Bay Street. I should never be in the corner office on Bay Street at all. So I work to prove to myself that I can be whatever I want and I can go as far as I want. And nobody's going to prevent me from doing that.
That was awesome. So Mr. West, how do you view money now that you are, very successful and, and very wealthy? What is your definition of wealth, right? And what does wealth do for you? And how do you view money from when you were, younger to now? Because I'm sure your view of money has changed.
Yeah, no, and if I look at wealth from a monetary perspective, so we're going to talk about it because wealth could be your health, your family, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm very wealthy when it comes to all those things. I'm philanthropic. I have a great family. My wife and I have been married for 30 years. I got 5 wonderful children. All these beautiful things that I have in my life. I'm very wealthy. So from a financial point of view, if we put those things into the mix, I'm lucky, I'm wealthy, everything. Let's look at it from a monetary perspective, okay? There's certain, as you go up the ladder, we call, getting promotion, climbing a ladder. And as you go one rung of the ladder, a little bit more successful, and you keep going up. Why do people keep going up? Sometimes you go, man, I can't believe I just got this raise. It's a lot of money. And then what you do, you buy a bigger house. And then you get to another rung of the ladder and you go, like, wow, look at how much money, you got a bigger house now. And you can buy a bigger, but there's some point when you go, there's just a big house, there's just another big house, or just another toy. How many toys can you buy? How many toys can you own? How many toys can you use at the same time? So after a certain point, it's no longer about the money. It's now about the influence and what you're able to do with the influence that you got. But the money is what gets people's attention first, right? So people ask the question, would you prefer to be influential or would you prefer to be rich? Which one is better? Because there's some people who are influential, but they don't have no money. And there's some people who have money, but they're not influential. Mm-hmm. But if you can marry the two, whereby you have influence and money, that's where power is. Mm-hmm. So that's what I discovered early in my life, that in order for money is a way to get influence. And once you get influence, you have to use it to do good things. Change the world. Talk like I'm talking right now about changing it for Black people, for Indigenous people, people of color, for underserved people. If I didn't have influence and money, people would stop me from speaking because they would say, you know what, I'm not going to give you a loan. I'm not going to do this for your business. I'm going to take away money from you. And then all of a sudden, your platform is gone because you don't have the wealth to do it. So once you get comfortable enough financially, you can be as open as you want. You can talk about issues as much as you want because you don't have that burden of somebody saying, I'm going to bring you back to poverty again. They can't do that anymore. So you can speak freely. So I remember when I started my company and I go, when I get this much money, I'm going to retire. And I wouldn't say what the number is, but it's like, when I get to this point, I'm going to retire. And I got there when I was about 36, 37 years old. And I go, wow, that's not bad. Then all of a sudden you set a different milestone. And then you get to that milestone and you go, wow, I can't believe I achieved that. Then you set a different milestone. And then it just becomes a competition now with yourself as to how much you can challenge yourself and how far you can go. But then it becomes different now, because now it's about philanthropic things. What are the things that I can do now to leave a legacy behind, to help other people behind me to make life a little bit better for them? And then all of a sudden, it's not about the money anymore. Yes, you still got to make money to do philanthropic things, to donate to causes and to help kids and different things like that. But ultimately, that's not what drives you anymore.
That was amazing. I see that Kadu says, me, I'm going to work harder.
But here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? There's a lot of people who work hard and they're not successful. You need to work hard, smart, and you need to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves, because those opportunities they close very, very quickly, because somebody may say, I want you to do something for me. Let's say if you're, I don't know how old you are, but let's say you're 50, you're 10 years old, okay? And you're walking down the street and you see somebody fell and you decide not to do anything about it. And you go, well, you know, I'm embarrassed. I don't know if I want to help them and so on. And then you just walk away. That opportunity to help that person could be a little bit of opportunity that opened for you that you didn't take advantage of. Because all of a sudden you go and help that person up. And then you realize that this person is a very influential person. And maybe they took a little medication and they stumbled. And as a result of me helping them up, they're so grateful to what I've done. And they can do things to help you in the future, but you didn't know that. But you were just doing a good deed because you saw a window of opportunity for you to do something good. And so sometimes we go, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to go help that person. I don't want to get attention drawn to myself, but you never know what that little window of opportunity could create for you and open for you in the future. So I would say that opportunity, they say it knocks, but it generally knocks once. And when the door opens, it closes just as quickly as it opened. So you have to look for those little, opportunities that present themselves to you every single day, no matter how old you are. There's always those little opportunities that are presented to you, and you need to take advantage of them. Would it be an opportunity to be kind? Would it be an opportunity to say something nice to somebody? Would it be an opportunity to share your lunch or to find out a kid next to you that's been sad and you don't really know why they're sad and just sitting over there and ask them and be a comfort to them? Those are little opportunities that go a long way because that kid later on in life could become somebody amazing, somebody special. And they always remember Johnny in grade 5 that helped me out when I really needed somebody to speak to me that day, right? And they'll go out and seek out Johnny, and you never know how that could change your life.
So true, so true. Isaiah says, work hard, smart, and grab opportunities. So
yes,
we're all taking notes, Mr. Wes. So tell me, what do you think about, or what habits do you think as a child now growing up into adulthood, what habits should they be developing now to help them on their way to a successful financial future?
Yeah.
Spending and a habit of saving.
Yeah, no question. So when I started my company, I didn't spend money on anything other than my company. I didn't go to restaurants. I usually, instead of flying, I would take the train because it's cheaper. I would take the bus to places, and I just saved every single penny because I didn't, all of a sudden I have this company, and the tendency is when you look successful, you have to act successful as well. And a part of acting successful means that I'm going to go borrow some money. I'm going to go buy a nice car. I'm going to borrow some money. I'm going to get a big house. But you haven't earned those things yet. So I waited until I earned those things. And when I could actually go and buy those things, I remember, could you imagine that when, you can go, I'm going to buy a house. There's a difference between buying a house and mortgaging a house. A lot of people use the expression, I'm going to buy a house, but they're actually mortgaging the house. But I made sure that I was so successful that I had enough money that I actually bought the house. And everybody was like, wow, something I've never seen somebody, they thought I was a drug dealer, because how could you go buy a house and say, here's the money, go buy a house? Because I wanted to make sure that I had something that was mine and it was my hard work. So for young kids, for example, if you do things in with your parents, you get an allowance, right? My 12-year-old, we have a deal. Ever since he was a young boy, if you make your bed on your own, you get $12. Okay, you get $12. So could you imagine he makes it every single day of the week, every single day of the year, how much money he would have? And every time we have to remind him, did you make your bed? No, I didn't make my bed. Did you make my bed? No, I didn't make your bed. But if you think about the matter of compounding, if he every day he gets his $12, and then he decided that he's going to put some in his piggy bank, and when he gets to a certain point, he goes, okay, I'm going to research an investment opportunity, because 12-year-olds can do that, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about some of the things that we expose ourselves to, young people know the trend that's next. Usually a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, they know what trend is, who's the YouTube star and what's going to be the next big thing. Could you imagine taking $100 out of that money and look at the stock market and go, I think this is going to be a big thing in the future. I'm going to invest in it when it's down here.
Mhm.
Right? That money that I saved to do my lemonade stand, that to make my bed, I'm going to save it. I'm going to put it in that investment. Could you imagine how much you could be a billionaire by the time you're 20 or 30 years old if you do the right investment opportunity? So young people feel that, okay, I have some money, I'm going to buy the new toy. I'm going to go get a new, PlayStation system or a new game. But if you actually look at invest in that money, by the time you get to high school or you get to graduate high school, you could have so much money built up that you can start your own business. Yes. And then continue to compound your growth and your wealth. And by the time you get to me, I'm gonna look up at you and go, man, one day I want to be like that guy. And you're like half my age.
Very true. That's exactly why we started KiddieNomics, so these kids can learn all of these types of advice and wisdom and knowledge now so that they can make the smart choices and start the investing and saving and budgeting early, right? So Mr. Wes is just reiterating exactly what we've been saying here on KiddieNomics for a very long time.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example.
What Madame Armstrong says, learning self-control in order to invest. Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. I remember, just a note on my grandmother, right? So when you think about it, a lot of kids think we can't learn anything from their parents and because their parents aren't rich. So we can't learn anything. Well, I grew up in poverty. But guess what the best lesson is that I learned from my grandmother? My grandmother, because as I said, she worked in a plantation, she had to supplement her income because the money on the plantation wasn't enough. She had 10 grandkids that she was raising by herself. So what my grandmother would do is she would bake puddings and she would sell it in the market. All right, so because we didn't have electricity and our kitchen was outside, we had to go to the bush and get wood to build a stove to bake the pudding. So, but we couldn't build 100 stoves if the pudding was in high demand. So when she goes to the market though, her pudding will sell out like that. Within an hour, her pudding is gone. Everybody loves Mama Julie's pudding. And so what did she do? She decided, okay, I can only make so much. So I am going to start increasing the prices now. So she didn't make more pudding. She just charged more for the pudding. But what is that called? That's called premium pricing. For something, supply and demand. The demand is high. There's not enough supply. So you increase the price, you make a bigger profit. That's what my grandma would have done. Now, people are complaining to her saying, why you raise the price? It's like, well, if you don't want to pay it, the person line up behind you, they're happy to pay it. Yes. And ultimately, she was able to make a bigger profit by charging more money. Why? Because she knew her value. She knew the value of the product that she was selling to the market. And she was able to charge a premium price for that. And so I learned that. I saw that child growing up, even though I was in poverty. So when I started my business, Kingsdale, I used the same concept. I'm going to provide premium service at a very high price. And if you don't want to pay it, somebody else will pay it. Mm-hmm. And that's that was a big secret to my success. I was able to provide a premier service at a very high price, exactly what I learned from my grandmother being in a plantation house.
Oh, that is very good advice. I think maybe, Reese, your question was, what's the most important thing that you learned from growing up in poverty? Would that be it, Mr. Wes?
That's one of them. Humility.
Mm-hmm.
How to make sure that I help people who are in that state today. Now that I have an opportunity to do that, how can I look back and help? One of the things, when you come from poverty, you become a first responder. What is a first responder? Those are the emergency personnel, the fire departments, and so on. If there's a building on fire, everybody's running away from it. The first responder is going towards the fire to help people. Police officers, firefighters, and so on. When you come from poverty, you're like that first responder. You need to go back into poverty and pull as many people out as possible. So that's what helped me. Because of being raised in poverty, it gives me the conscience to go back into those locations where people like those still exist and try to help as many of them as I possibly can. That's what I learned from being poor.
I hope that answers your question, Reese. Fantastic. Tell me, what do you think about, what do you think about mentors?
Yeah.
And finding I like to say, we need mentors, but you also need somebody who is a sponsor, somebody that is not just going to mentor you, but it's going to help open the door for you, get you a seat at the table. And so what do you feel about that?
Yeah, so listen, you need to get those. The reason why people send their kids to private school is because they want to build a network for them. A group of people are going to help them in the future. You don't need to be in a private school to do that. You can do it in public school as well. It's all about how do you deal with the people around you and how do you use those resources of people around you. Mentorship, a lot of people look at mentorship to say that person has to have achieved this for them to be my mentors. But there could be some traits in them that you really like and you want to emulate those traits. And you go, I want to be a friend of that person. I want that person to kind of take me under their wings and help me. And that person could be the same age as you, by the way. They don't have to be older than you. So we should always find people that we respect, whether it be a classmate that's really bright, a classmate that's, have great morals and stuff like that, and go, I want to be your friend, and that's my mentor. Sponsorship is really when now you get into a company, for example, or you get into university, and you go, I'm going to find somebody more advanced than me to take me along and show me the ropes, right? So when they move up, I move up with them. They take me along behind them. And so we always need to have those two people in our lives, people who are mentored with that mentor us, and people who bring us along by sponsoring us. And they always are there. We need to look for them. Now, a lot of people may send me notes and say, Wes, I want you to mentor me. Well, you don't necessarily physically sit down and talk to someone to mentor them. How about reading something about this person, about in their book, for example? Because some people go, I just want to sit down and talk to you, but they wouldn't read the book. Well, you got to put the work in first. Yeah. You got to go and do some Google search and say, hey, let me find out about Wes Hall and see how he does all these different things. And then we just read and read and read. My biggest mentor growing up on Bay Street was Michael Lee Chin. And I didn't meet him until way late in my career because I read an article about him and I go, I want to be like that guy.
So Mr. Michael Lee Chin is my other person who's my dream guest. So it's funny that you mentioned him. Anyway, okay, sorry, go ahead. So I just read about him and that's it. That's all I needed to know. I saw what he did, how he did it, and I go, okay, I'm going to try to emulate that model. And so read about the person that you admire the most. And if you get the opportunity to meet them, at least you now know something about them to carry a conversation with them. And you have no idea how much people appreciate when you come up to them and you know something about them that most people don't know. All of a sudden, they start looking at you differently. And so, but reading about them, not just saying, Mr. Hall or Mr. West, I want to be your mentor. Can you mentor me? Okay. Tell me a little bit of something about myself. What do you know about me? What's my struggles? Have you read my book? Have you read anything about me? Have you watched a documentary on YouTube? Whatever. If you don't do any of those things, then you're not really showing that you appreciate the opportunity to be mentored by me. Absolutely. And so how do you think one should approach, because I get this question all the time from kids, and they're like, well, how do I get a mentor? How do I ask somebody to be my mentor? How do you go about doing that? Maybe not a person like yourself, Mr. West, but how would a child find a mentor?
Just ask. A kid you're in school. And if you really want to be, an engineer, or if you want to get into the sciences and stuff like that, how about going to one of your teachers that you really like or respect and say, could you give me some extra time after school or before school? I'm going to come in early. Because that teacher will not say no. I almost guarantee you that they will not say no, because they don't get asked that often enough. And so we look at them as just people that, okay, they're just there to do a particular service. But they want to do more than that. A lot of teachers get into the education system because they're just drawn to it, because of their passion to help people to learn. So when somebody come in and go, I want to learn more, I want to learn, they're going to be like, yeah, we'll do it. So the first place that you'll find mentors are really in the school system, your teachers. But then there are those mentors in your neighborhood, people that are just nice people, nice neighbors that you can just go to and say, can I spend some time with you? And can I go for a walk like an elderly person in the neighborhood? Can I go for a walk with you? Because they want to go for walks, but they're by themselves. And all of a sudden, a 10-year-old is saying, can I go for a walk with you? Can you imagine how much you're going to learn from that person? Because of their years of knowledge, that you're going to go for a walk for an hour with them, and they're just going to be teaching you all these things and encourage you. Those are the things that you should do. Just don't look and say they have to be successful, they have to be this. There's so many people around us that are just itching to teach us what they know and help us, only if we just simply ask them to.
Very good points. So what we've learned there is always ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid.
Mr. West, don't be afraid to ask. Fantastic. Mickey, did you have a question?
Yeah. Do you like being in Dragon's Den? Like,
Oh.
I love it. I don't know how many people here watch the show, but I would encourage you to watch the show because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. And the show, even if you're young, my 12-year-old and his friends watches the show because it teaches you, first of all, how to deal with money, how to do a presentation. You know, what are some of the things that investors want to know if you have a little business idea and you want to get somebody to invest in it? And there are young kids that actually come on the show with great ideas. And so, but those great ideas become big ideas in the future. But you need capital, money, in order for you to make them big ideas. So the show kind of teaches you those things. And that's one of the things I love about the show, because I get to help so many people and to help so many ideas come to reality and encourage like thousands of people out there watching the show to go, I want to be an entrepreneur. But most importantly for me, because being the first Black person on the show, it encourages other Black folks to go, I can be one of those people too.
Absolutely. And that's why we do love the show. And it's very awesome to see the different entrepreneurs that come on and all the fabulous ideas that they have trying to pitch to raise money for their investments. But let me go back to investing before we get more into the Dragon's Den. And I know that time is running short on us, but what is your investment philosophy? How do you feel that, especially coming from maybe a kid's point of view, a child's point of view, youth growing up until now, what do you feel is your investment philosophy?
Yeah, I invest behind people. We were talking today about this great opportunity that this person has, but they're wasting it. They're wasting their talent. They're wasting it. It's such a great opportunity, but the person executed, it's the wrong person. And so we have to, we have to realize that when people are doing something good for us, it's because of us and our attitude. So we're always selling ourselves. When somebody wants to help you when you're walking down the street, it's how you carry yourself. And they go, I want to help that child. So when I was coming up in the corporate world as a young guy coming in, people saw me and they go, I like the way he carried himself. I like the way he spoke. And as a result of the way that I carried myself, they wanted to help me along the way. So people invest in you because of you being who you are. And so as you navigate your landscape, you're going to find things that you go, I'm really good at this thing. Or I'm going to support somebody who's good at whatever it is that they're good at. But they're also decent people. Because they may have the best ideas, but if they're not the right people to execute it, it doesn't really matter. So my investment philosophy right now is about finding people with great ideas and supporting them. And in some cases, being a part of their team to help them along and to bring those ideas that they have to reality.
That is great. So it's really about the people. It's really the person behind the idea. Yeah. So be confident in yourself, in your idea, when you're pitching your idea.
That's correct.
That's what I get, Mr. West. I have a question here from Cleve. They want to know, I want to be an investment banker. What can you tell me about how to become a successful investment banker?
Well,
I think you mentioned it several times.
I know investment bankers are in these towers. There's a ton of investment bankers all around. What they do is they find opportunities for people, whether it be mergers, acquisition opportunities, and they bring it to other people and pitch it to them. And then those people take that idea, the investment banker get a percentage of whatever the deal size is. And usually they work for a bank or they work for an independent firm on Bay Street, but their job is to put deals together. Investment bankers back in the day used to make a ton of money, millions and millions of dollars. If you're really good at what you do, you can make millions and millions of dollars. It's not the same anymore since the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. They don't make as much anymore, but they still do just fine. It's a very, very competitive landscape, very competitive. And the people there, by the time you're 50 or just over 50, that's it. They want to get young people to come in. So it's not one of those things. You don't see too many 60-year-old investment bankers or 55-year-old investment bankers on the street anymore. It's
a young person's game.
It's a young person's game because the hours are long, the work is hard, there's a lot of travel involved and so on. And there's just go, 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 go all the time. So that's the reason why people get kind of burnt out after a while. But it's a fascinating business. It's a fascinating business. You usually need a master's to get a master's. Commerce degree you can, but generally it's a master's. And in a lot of cases, you need to get your CFA to for some of these institutions to hire you to be an investment banker as well. It's a process.
That seems like a process, but one that will pay off if you work hard at it.
Yep.
Right? I hope that answers your question, Cleve. Isaiah has a question. Can everyone be an entrepreneur? That's a good question.
Anyone can be an entrepreneur. And, when we're on the show, people say, you're not an entrepreneur. Some of the dragons may say that to people coming on the show. Well, you may not be as successful as somebody else, but you're an entrepreneur. If you decide to go out on your own to do a business, coming up with a business idea, coming up with a product that people want, and you have the guts to go out there and make it happen, you're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, and anyone can do that. It doesn't really mean that anyone can hit the ball out of the park, but it means that anyone can come up with an idea and make it happen. In a lot of cases, why people don't become entrepreneurs, because they don't have the financial support from others. The banks won't loan them money. They don't know investors. All these different things don't line up for them, so they don't do it. And but anyone has the ability to be an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. And that's certainly very true. So thank you for that encouragement, Mr. West. I do see that we have a hands up from Arthur. Arthur, if you have a question, please type it in the chat box so that we can know what your question is. But do we have any other questions for Mr. West before I ask my final question? Go ahead, Nikki.
Was there any funny or fun moments while you were in Dragon's Den?
Funny or fun moments in Dragon's Den? What's a pitch that really made you laugh, I guess?
Well, I just invested this season in a company that actually, they call it Slypod, and it actually houses dog poo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're walking your dog and your dog kind of do their business, and then you have to pick it up with the bag. What do you do with the bag if there's no garbage nearby? You guys don't have a dog, but you have to walk with this bag. You got to walk with this bag with the stinky poo in it. Right? So this person came on the show and they go, okay, we're going to have a thing that you got to put the poo in it, put it in and put it over your shoulder and just walk down the street with it until you find the garbage. That's what I invested in it. So if you have a dog at home, it's called Slypod.
Very practical.
Very practical. You put it on the thing and you walk down the street, the poo is on your back, and it's now stylish. Right?
Yeah.
Those are the outfit now. Instead of having this bag with poo in it, and everybody's like, look at him, he's got poo. Nobody knows this because it's just slide. That's why it's called Slypod. Just slides over your shoulder. You walk down the street with a bag of poo in your bag.
Love it. Yes, I tell my kids I'm allergic to all animals, so don't ask.
Okay. That's what I used to say until I got worn down.
I say kids make the best salespeople. They wear you down.
I said no to the first kid. I said no to the second kid. I said no to the third. I said no to the fourth, but I know it's a numbers game. Eventually, I'm gonna just run out of nose, and eventually the fifth one, yes.
It's okay. One day I'll get a dog.
Yeah, there you go.
But they come with all the good questions. Well, there's allergic dogs. There's dogs that they don't have fur, they have real human hair. You're not
That's
allergic to that, are you?
Yeah.
I'm allergic to all animals. Stop asking. But thank you for that. Is there any more questions online here? I made a mistake. I don't have a question. Next thing you know, Micah says, next thing you know, the bag rips.
It's not a bag though. It's not a bag. It's like a rubber thing.
No, not the slide pod.
Exactly right. And then you have to pick it up again.
Yes.
Can't have that.
Fantastic. Carolina had another question. She says that they want to start a jewelry business. How can I raise capital and how to make it into a franchise? So she wants to start a jewelry business and to make it into a franchise. And then I'll ask my final question.
Well, listen, if you have a jewelry business that's doing well, hopefully you can find investors for it. But franchising is a quick way to scale the business. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to prove to people that it's viable. So you have to generally open a store, which is, so you have to get somebody who believes in you. You have to find somebody, friends and family. The reason why my book is called No Bootstrap When You're Barefoot is because people use the expression, I bootstrap my business. Mm-hmm. So how do you bootstrap your business when you have no money? That's your laces, you have no boots. You can't bootstrap your business. So if you don't, find somebody who believes in you. And that's what I talked about earlier, believes in you and believes in your idea and believes that you're the right person to make it happen. But the first thing that you need to do is to put a business plan together. The first thing, you can go to the internet, you can search out, how to write a business plan. And there are business plans that are unique to different industries, jewelry business, retail, you name it. You can search all those things. And then what you need to do is to do a projection. How well is this business going to do? How many am I going to sell it? Am I going to sell it bricks and mortar, meaning that I'm going to have a store and people are going to come there to sell it? Is it going to be just online? E-commerce, is that just you can only buy it online? How am I going to market it? Am I going to use Instagram, TikTok? Am I going to use Twitter? Am I going to use Facebook? And then you come up with all those ideas. How much am I going to sell it for? How much am I going to make it for? What's my profit? All those things should be in your business plan so that when you bring it to that potential investors who believe in you, you have all those questions answered. And then the franchising, for example, they say, okay, fine, I'm going to franchise X amount. I'm going to charge this much for the license. This is how much the royalty is going to be. I'm going to have this many stores across the country. And these are the potential people that I'm going to target to be a franchisee in the business.
That was a phenomenal answer. I hope that answered your question, Carolina, because they said amen. Fantastic. All right. I do want to wrap up with Mr. Wes because I know that he is an extremely busy man, but I do want to ask you a final question and then I'll wrap up for KiddieNomics. But I did ask this question to Marcy Ian when she came on KiddieNomics. And so I want to ask it to you because her answer was phenomenal. If you could talk to your younger self, because a lot of these kids are, 8 to 13, some younger, some older. And of course we have, parents watching and aunties and uncles and all of that. But if you could talk to your older self, what would you have told your older self? I look at Marcy Ian said, for kids to talk louder and talk sooner. Your voice is important. And so what would you say to that?
I would say for me, when I came to Canada, September 27th, 1985, I was a 16-year-old kid. And I went to live with my dad, as you know in the book. And 2 years later, I moved out.
Yes.
Because I knew too much. I didn't want to listen to him anymore, right? I just like, I can do this on my own. And within a year of doing that, I'm like, man, that's a mistake. But it was too late. I couldn't go back home anymore. Because I'm from one of those typical West Indian families whereby my dad's like, once you move out, you can't come back. And so I should have listened more. I should have been more open to, because I was new to Canada. I didn't know anything, but I thought I did. And so, yes, I turned out just fine. And I made it on my own, but it was so much harder because I wanted to do it on my own steam. And I didn't really want him to help me to do it. So I would say, don't be too pig-headed about how much life experience you have, because you have none. If you're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you have no life experience. You know a thing or two, but you're just learning. Always be a student. No matter how old you get, always be a student. Always be willing to listen to others and learn from other people. And if you do that, you're going to pick up so much nuggets of information that's going to help you along the way, that 10, 15 years out, you're going to look back and go, man, I'm glad I listened to that person back then, because look at how it navigated, me towards where I'm at right now. So always be open to ideas and always be prepared to listen to people, especially your parents, teachers, people in positions of authority. I know as a young person, when your parents say something, you think they're idiots and they don't know anything, but they have lived experiences. They've gone through things that you're going to go through in life. And they know the pitfalls that you're going to be going into. And they want you to avoid those mistakes that they've made. And that's the reason why they passionately encourage you not to do a certain thing, not to go down a certain path, because they know what's going to happen if you go down that path. So just open your ears and listen and be a student. Always be a student. Always be prepared to take advice, to listen and learn.
I love that. I hope my daughter was really listening to that, Mr. Wes.
I'm sure she was. I'm sure she was.
I'm sure she was too. She's a phenomenal kid. So
I
I'm
really
very
am.
blessed. She is. She's a phenomenal kid. Well, thank you, Mr. Wes. We'd like to give you a big round of applause.
Thank you,
If there are
everybody.
no more questions online. You dropped so many gems on this. I know people will watch this back and this is going to be one that people will watch over and over again, especially parents, to show their kids. Watch this webinar.
Amazing. I'm glad. I'm glad I was able to participate, and I hope those folks who were kind enough to join, that they get a benefit or two from the conversation.
Well, we all did. So thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up. If you can stay on for another 5 minutes, that'd be awesome, while I just wrap up. And then let me see. But I will say, great advice and lessons. Thank you. I'm sure this will impact my daughter for life. Says Cleve. Madame Armstrong says, thanks so much. And the kids are giving you big claps online. So thank you. Let me just wrap up, guys. I'm going to share my screen again. So let's ask the final question that we ask for every KiddieNomics webinar is, what would happen if kids became more financially literate? And our answer is real change that impacts the world. Because you guys learned so much today, just listening to Mr. Wes, right? Like, we learned a lot. And so as you get older and all of this knowledge that you're gaining through KiddieNomics, and the financial knowledge and just the business knowledge and entrepreneurship knowledge, you guys are going to do so many amazing things that, whether or not you're going to become the first trillionaire, or you're going to cure cancer, or you're going to solve the climate change, I know that you guys are going to do real things that are going to impact the world. And that's what financial literacy will help you do. Okay. All right. And that's why we like to call everybody our young financial literacy ambassadors, because you all represent us out there. And that's what we love about financial literacy and about you guys being ambassadors, because you share this knowledge with your friends, your family, your aunties, your uncles, your community at large. And you help to educate other people that may not be as financially literate as you are. And that's why we like to say that knowledge is our
superpower.
Knowledge is our superpower. But go ahead and share it, because literally the more that you share your knowledge, the stronger you will become. And that's what we want for you guys. All right. All right. So we're just going to wrap up. Next week is our wrap up week for our fall season for KiddieNomics. We have Miss Deborah coming on from Desjardins. She's going to be talking about responsible investing. So a driver for change. So we're going to be going back to stocks again, talking about investing, and we're going to be talking about responsible investing. So that's going to be a really great one next week with Miss Deborah from Desjardins. So that'll be fun. And then that's going to be our final episode for the fall season. And then we'll be back in the winter session. So we'll be back in January to, we're going to give you guys a break and enjoy the happy holidays that's coming up. All right.
Yeah, so basically next year.
Yes, that's right. And of course, if you guys like our t-shirts, this is our future trillionaire t-shirts, because guess what? We believe that the world's first trillionaire is going to be coming out of our KiddieNomics community. Why? Because you guys are so financially lit that we know one of you guys are going to become a trillionaire. And that's why we're going to claim it. We claim it, we write it, we're going to achieve it. And so we put it on our shirts. And of course, we are raising funds to help build out our KiddieNomics platform so we can make our platform into a global platform for everybody. And of course, the last thing is we love to hear from you. So if you have any ideas, any topics, any guest experts that you would love to see on KiddieNomics, please, please, please send them to me. Please send me an email at kiddienomics101@gmail.com. Never without your parents' permission, of course, right? Always with your parents' permission. And of course, if you do like the content and do find value in the content here at KiddieNomics, please please like and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Or TikTok, we're getting going. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. West. You did a phenomenal job. We so appreciate you for coming on. And thank you for sparing this time to educate these kids. This was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week and bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.